What's up, everybody? This is Chris Surratt bringing you another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of your vehicle. On today's show, we're going to concentrate solely on Tesla as it goes through a lot of pains in this new year. We're going to talk about the situation where they have stopped the production and sale of their new cheap model Tesla, the Tesla S as it were. We're also going to talk about their recent lawsuit that they settled for a black employee over at one of their Tesla locations, as well as talk about a couple of other racial incidents that Tesla has gone through. And last but not least, we're going to talk about a new lawsuit that they have happening out here in California, where they're being accused of tampering with the odometer so warranties expire quicker. All right, so let's jump into it. So, of course, when you talk about Tesla, you automatically have to talk about Elon Musk, but these situations aren't a direct notification on Elon Musk, as it were. It's more about Tesla as a company, some of the things that Tesla as a company is going through, and not directly about Elon Musk and Doge and all of those situations. And, you know, and Tesla has been, let's admit it, Tesla's been going through a serious downfall pretty much because of Elon Musk and the Doge situation and all of the antics or things that Elon Musk has done, which in most cases have been situated as positive, but, you know, people have their feelings. You got the zealots that are destroying Tesla vehicles everywhere, you know, and that's a big thing where the DOJ had to get involved. So Tesla has been going through a massive lately. Massive of stuff going on with Tesla. So, but what we found is a couple of things about Tesla, because when we were doing our research today, just lots of Tesla stuff just kept on popping up. So let's talk about Tesla in full on this episode and get y'all in and out today. So check it out. First, we're going to talk about Tesla as it is delaying the launch of the new affordable EV that was supposed to come out, I think, in May, if memory serves me correctly. But let's check out that story. All right, so, and of course, we're going to automotive news for our daily dose of automotive news. Tesla to delay U.S. launch of affordable EV, a lower cost Model Y, report says. This is San Francisco. It's by Reuters News, and it's from April 19th. San Francisco. Tesla Inc.'s long-awaited plans for an affordable car include a U.S.-made, stripped-down version of best-selling electric crossover, the Model Y. But the production launch has been delayed, three sources with knowledge of the matter told Reuters. Tesla has promised affordable vehicles beginning in the first half of the year, providing a potential boost to flagging sales. Global production of the lower-cost Model Y, entirely codenamed E41, is expected to begin in the U.S., the sources said. That would occur at least a few months later than outlined in Tesla's public plan. They added, offering a range of revised targets from the third quarter to early next year. The reason for the delays was not clear. Two of the people said Tesla aimed to produce 250,000 of the cheaper Model Ys in the U.S. in 2026. The new vehicle is also planned for eventual production in China and Europe, Reuters has previously reported. The delay of U.S. production and the U.S. production target have not been previously reported. The less expensive mass market vehicles have been widely anticipated by Tesla fans and investors who hope they will attract a fresh group of customers and reverse the EV makers' falling sales and eroding market share. Tesla also has refreshed its original Model Y with exterior and interior changes. The long-range all-wheel drive version in the U.S. costs about $49,000 before a $7,500 federal tax credit, which is in flux. Reuters reported last month that the China launch of the E41 will occur in 2026. The E41 will be smaller and cost 20% less to produce than the refreshed Model Y. The source familiar with China plans told Reuters. The time of the rollout in Europe is not clear. Tesla is also planning to launch a bare-bones version of its Model 3 compact sedan, three people said. Tesla did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the delay of production of the cheaper Model Y. production targets and other details reported here. The EV maker on January 2nd reported its first decline in annual deliveries last year. Analysts expect sales to fall again this year for several reasons, including damage to the brand reputation by CEO Elon Musk's close work with the U.S. President Donald Trump and support of certain European politicians. Another challenge for Tesla is that its vehicles are aging and there is no relatively cheap model. Musk earlier promised a new, cheaper EV platform with cars expected to be priced as low as $25,000, but dropped that to prioritize robotaxi development. Automakers are grappling with prospects of rising prices, supply chain disruption after Trump imposed 25% tariffs on vehicles and auto parts imported from outside the U.S. Tesla has increased North American sourcing for parts of many models over the last 2 years, which would decrease tariff exposure for the E41. Two people aware of the matter said it recently suspended plans to ship components from China to the U.S. for the Cybercab and semi-truck due to tariffs, one person told Reuters earlier this week. All right. So what we're talking about is that, and it's tariffs. I mean, we're talking about that with the tariff situation, they have to cement their ground here in the U.S. before they can go ahead and start production on another vehicle, throw money into another vehicle until they can grapple with the fact that they still get a good percentage of their products and their parts from China and other places, specifically China, because China is the one that is, causing the biggest rift when it comes to tariffs and people complaining about the price of cars and the price of auto parts and all those things. It's mostly China because China was, providing the majority of the parts for the American people. So this is just a added problem that is coming from the tariffs, and it is a problem that it sounds like Tesla and Elon Musk are trying their best to take care of before they continue down that path, because the idea is to make these vehicles cheaper, and of course, I'm fairly certain that the idea of making the vehicle cheaper was based on the idea that they were going to be able to produce these vehicles probably over in China with cheaper labor and cheaper products. So with the idea that that's going to cost them more money and it's not going to be as cheap a vehicle, they have they got to pivot. They got to establish on, where they're going to make these vehicles at. And then, of course, they got to establish how cheap they can really make them if they're in a situation where they're having to make the parts and the vehicles here in the U.S. instead of over in China, where you're going to get a lot cheaper labor. Okay? So, just a factor in that, change in direction. They had to pivot. Still going to come out with that cheap Tesla Y. Still, plan to check it out. It's going to hit the streets. It's one of those cars they're really trying their best to maintain as an American-made vehicle. So, which is hard because a lot of it is made in China. Let's face it. He got factories and plants over in China. Lots of the parts are made over there. So, a lot of companies, this is not only Tesla, a lot of companies are going to have to reroute. They're going to have to start producing more of their parts and more of their products over here in the U.S. to avoid having to pay more money. And Tesla's not abaft of that. Tesla desperately has to, consolidate their production here in the U.S., specifically before they try to put out this cheaper model vehicle. Okay? So, let's, we're going to check out a video speaking on the subject a little bit, see how they feel.
Tesla delays launch of affordable EV key insights. Tesla has recently announced a delay in the launch of its much-anticipated affordable EV, which is expected to be a simplified version of the Model Y in the United States. This news comes as a surprise to many, especially after last year's bold statements from CEO Elon Musk that hinted at a new direction for the company. In a significant shift, Musk decided to scrap plans for a cheaper $25,000 vehicle, often referred to as the Model 2, which was intended to be built on a new vehicle platform. Instead, the focus has shifted entirely to the Robotaxi project, which aims to leverage cutting-edge technology. While Tesla still plans to produce more affordable electric vehicles, these will now be based on the existing Model Y platform, making them pricier than initially expected. Musk has long believed that Tesla is on the brink of mastering self-driving technology, leading him to conclude that a $25,000 EV would be unnecessary. He envisions a future where self-driving ride-hailing services dominate the lower end of the market. However, his predictions about achieving full self-driving capabilities have not materialized as expected, with initial claims dating back to 2019. As Tesla faces declining sales, the company has had to...
All right, I'm good on that. So, they pretty much just saying exactly what the story said, so there's no need to continue on about that. But let's just face it, it's just a situation where when it comes to putting out newer models and more models, these automakers have to think about it. You have to make sure that if you're going to put another model vehicle on the streets, you have to make sure that you have the ability to gain the market share to sell it. And this is not a time with all the influx and the tariffs and all these other situations going on. This is not a time for automakers to be putting out new model vehicles. It's just not. There's just so much influx in the automotive industry when it comes to selling cars that it would be remiss if you don't concentrate on selling the vehicles that you already have in stock. So many automakers have tremendous amounts of inventory that are just sitting there collecting dust. Tesla's one of them. Tesla has a massive inventory of all of their models, specifically the Cybertruck, just sitting there because nobody's buying right now. Nobody's buying because they're afraid. Now, mind you, we did talk about the tariff shopping that a lot of people are doing. There are a lot of people out there trying to buy pre-tariffs and try to get cars at a price before they think that cars are going to skyrocket in price, which I still don't believe is going to happen. But it is a situation where the market is just flooded with cars that are just not being sold. We talk about it all the time, and it's not a situation where if you put out another vehicle out on these streets and it's not something that people are dying for, you're going to load the streets and load your dealers with inventory that they can't sell. Let's keep going. So, let's go on and get racial. Tesla ended up having to settle another lawsuit, another racial discrimination lawsuit. Now, mind you, Tesla, over the years, we've talked about it a couple of times, they had one situation where they had to pay a young gentleman $137 million for discrimination. They had the EEOC coming down on them about something else. So we'll check out that story as well. But it always seems that Tesla is one of those companies that is dealing with a lot of discrimination. And, they always want to put it on to Elon Musk's feet, but it's more about the individual dealerships and places that we're talking about. So let's check out the story real quickly. Tesla settles black employees' U.S. lawsuit alleging pervasive harassment. You'll see I had that looked up because I need to see what they meant by pervasive harassment. I mean, I know what pervasive and harassment is, but anyway. By Reuters News, this is from April 18th. And Tesla Inc. has settled a racial discrimination lawsuit by a black female employee who claimed the manager at its Fremont, California plant sometimes greeted workers by saying, "Welcome to the plantation," or "Welcome to the slave house." Raina Pierce, who installed latches on car doors, and the automaker led by billionaire Elon Musk, agreed to a settlement proposed by a mediator, according to a joint filing on Thursday in U.S. District Court in San Francisco. Terms were not disclosed, and both sides are finalizing a settlement agreement, the filing said. Lawyers for Pierce and Tesla did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Musk is not a defendant. Pierce says she was subject to pervasive harassment, including a common racial slur she said was scrawled throughout the plant, including in bathrooms and gender-based insult. She also said she was yelled at or disciplined for conduct for which non-black workers were excused. Pierce's complaint quotes a Tesla employee who temporarily joined her production line and said, "Ma'am, you need to go to HR because these leads are saying things about you that are not right." Tesla has faced other accusations of racial discrimination and harassment at the Fremont plant. One plaintiff, elevator operator Owen Diaz, settled in March 2024 for undisclosed terms after a $3.2 million jury verdict. Another jury had awarded Diaz $137 million in 2021, but the case was retired after he rejected a lower sum the judge proposed. Okay. So, pretty much straightforward kind of stuff. I mean, dealing with racial discrimination. The thing about racial discrimination is that it has to come from a position of power. And I believe that, you can't, when you're dealing with racial discrimination, when you're trying to fight racial discrimination, you cannot, it has to, all right, let's see. The best way to put this is that, racial discrimination should not be tolerated whatsoever, nowhere, no how, by no one. But it hurts even worse. It's even more pervasive if it's done by supervisors or people in power, because they have the ability to control certain things, particularly your workflow, your job, and your employment, specifically at a job like this. And you have to, you want to and have to and need to work in a place where you feel safe and you feel respected. And this young lady did not feel safe and respected. Obviously, she told somebody and they moved it up the chain. And, she filed the lawsuit and she won, proving that she was right in some way, shape, or form. And that, it was taken care of. But we have to understand that this is not a Tesla thing. This is individualized to plants, to specific dealerships, to specific people. Because it's not a situation where you got Elon Musk sitting on top of his throne and saying, "Hey, y'all can treat these black people over here like this. Hey, y'all can sit over here and call these black people N-word." It's always a situation, not always, in most cases it's a situation where you have people, individuals that feel they have the right or ability to say or do certain things, and if they're not chastised or disciplined for doing those things, they will continue to do them until they are chastised or disciplined for doing them. So it's one of those situations. I want to really check out the other situation that I saw about Tesla and racial discrimination lawsuits, and it was more about the EEOC coming after Tesla. So it was a little bit more widespread than one young lady just talking about it. So see if this connects Tesla as a whole to racism.
Just some developing news just before we went on the air. Tesla now getting sued for allegedly tolerating racial harassment of its black workers and retaliating against those who spoke out about it. This is a suit coming from the EEOC. You've probably seen that around your workplace, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. It includes claims from a black worker at the Fremont, California plant who says people were using what they describe as the N-word all the time, especially men and particularly white men. It claims Tesla failed and refused to take steps to address that behavior. Tesla did not immediately respond to CNBC's request for comment. David Ingram, our tech reporter, is on this one. What else do we know about this?
Allie, this lawsuit filed today goes into great detail about some of what black workers at Tesla's factory here in California said that they faced on a regular basis. This one worker is quoted in the complaint saying that when he would take breaks and go to the restroom or the break room, that he would see the N-word and other racial epithets.
Is it just me, or does anybody find it interesting that this racial harassment is happening in California? I kind of moved California because I thought that it was a place where, I'm from Indiana. I thought this was a place where you wouldn't find, racial harassment and people hating each other because of their color of skin. I thought this was more of a, melting pot situation out in California. Is kind of one of the reasons I decided to move out here. But I find that California has as much racism or people have a disdain for other races as any other state.
Scrawled all over the walls, saying that he would see a swastika, the N-word. He said it was so gross and racist, I don't want to talk about it. It would say, kill black people. Now, the EEOC says this has been going on for more than 8 years at the Fremont factory, which is about an hour east of here in California. I'm in San Francisco. And Tesla actually has known that this suit was coming for more than a year. They have been in discussions with the EEOC. The EEOC says that they failed to come to any kind of reconciliation, so now it's headed to court.
It's not the first time that Tesla under Elon Musk has been accused of something like this, right?
That's right. These similar claims have also been pursued by state regulators in California. They filed their own suit, the sort of state equivalent of the EEOC, and employees themselves have filed claims in state and federal court. Those are in pretrial motions. We expect at least one of those to go to trial from one worker who has already pursued his cases in previous trials and is getting a retrial. So multiple court proceedings advancing at the same time, all alleging essentially that Tesla not only allowed discrimination to go on against black employees, but even retaliated against them, firing them within weeks of telling management about these problems.
David Ingram, thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
So, it's just one of those things, and it's weird that this continues to happen at this Fremont plant. And I just wanted to make sure that we understand that this is individualized racism to some degree. It's not a Elon Musk thing. You can't pin this on Elon Musk. You can't claim that Elon Musk is racist because this is happening at these places. We can't say that Fremont don't sound like it is very racial diverse or like people of color, but I mean, I don't know too much about that. Kill N-words written. I mean, that's some deep racism stuff if that's occurring. And obviously it was, because the EEOC wouldn't have came in if it didn't have some kind of proof. And then again, the young lady won her case, so there's proof that this, at the very least, this Fremont plant is not a place where you want to be if you're a person of color. And hopefully now they've changed all that. So let's keep going. We're going to jump into the last story. Last but not least, and this is new bad stuff that's happened with Tesla. Tesla has been accused of manipulating odometers with their technology, which is one of the things that we're always going to be talking about over the course of the next couple of years. Is with these EV vehicles, they're all computers, so there's so many ways that you can input code and verification to change, speed, odometer, all these other type of things that can't be monitored as of yet. So what we're talking about is that Tesla's being accused of manipulating the mileages on these vehicles so that the warranties would expire. I'm real big on warranties, the expiration times and all that. So we're going to check out the story real quickly, and then we're going to talk about it.
A class action lawsuit filed against Elon Musk's Tesla in California alleges the company artificially increased odometer readings to let cars fall out of warranty faster so it can short-circuit repairs under warranty. One of the plaintiffs says his 2020 Tesla Model Y odometer logged 150 kilometers daily, but he only drove it for 20 kilometers per day. His 80,400 kilometers warranty expired early, leaving him with a $10,000 suspension repair bill. The lawsuit claims Tesla's odometer...
First off, what kind of suspension you need that's going to cost $10,000? What kind of shit is that? $10,000 for a suspension repair? What are you replacing? The whole complete entire suspension system? $2,000 for... Man, I'm telling you, bro. This is a big problem where they're taking away your ability to fix your own cars.
system uses shady algorithms, energy metrics, and driver behavior multipliers to fake mileage. Tesla, however, is no stranger to scandal. It recalled almost all of its much-hyped Cybertruck models, which were plagued with malfunctions, less than 2 years after its release in 2023. A 2023 Reuters investigation found Tesla had created a secret team to suppress thousands of complaints linked to the range its cars can travel instead of fixing the issue. It also collected $50,000 deposit from customers back in 2017 for its Roadster model, a car that never made it to the showroom floor. Meanwhile, its stocks are steadily crashing as China's EV market races ahead. Terrific.
So, I mean, we're going to get to a lot of this. This is going to happen with a lot of EV vehicles, a lot of these new makes and models of EVs, and even gas vehicles. You're going to run into a lot of these vehicles would have these new fancy computer systems and all this fancy technology. It's just going to be Dieselgate all over again, where Volkswagen had the system in theirs that was saying that you were getting a certain amount of miles per gallon and you really weren't. It's just going to get more perverse. It's going to get more of a situation where computers and the technology in these vehicles are going to be able to lie to you to get certain things to happen, specifically when it comes to, warranty and gas mileage and distance, the miles that the vehicle will travel. All these things will be controlled by a computer, so they'll be easily manipulated by certain code and certain acts of the computer system or electronic control module of the vehicle. And it's just going to get worse and worse. I don't foresee that being... I don't see how the DOT or anybody else is going to be able to stop it, because it's going to be hard to, establish that wrongdoing is being done. It's going to be extremely hard to establish that wrongdoing is being done. If the computer system is working correctly, and then you hook another computer system up to see if it's working correctly, it's not going to tell you that it's doing something wrong. It's just going to keep on doing it. And if you don't know exactly what code you're looking for in that system to tell you that it's changing the mileage or whatever, then you're not going to find it. So, and of course, there are going to be people or ability in the future to divulge this information to establish if these companies are cheating, but it's going to be way after they already made their money. Let's check out another full story. We're going to check out this cute chick and she tell it real quick, and then I'm going to let y'all out of here.
Austin-based Tesla faces a new lawsuit over claims the automaker's vehicles don't accurately track mileage. A California man who purchased a used Model Y alleges the car's odometer incorrectly added extra miles.
So, and I'm glad we went to this story to share this cute chick tell this story, but this man is going to have major issues in his lawsuit with the simple fact that he bought a used Tesla. Okay? The simple fact that it's a used vehicle is going to allow them to state that the warranty is expired on several different platforms, several different ways that they can say the warranty expired when a vehicle changes hands from one person to another. Now, some warranties do allow you to do that and not change the warranty, but Tesla is not one of those. Tesla is not one of those. So, and of course, it being an EV vehicle, the drivability or the way that the person that previously drove the vehicle is going to affect it as well. It's not going to be an easy road for this guy.
Claims his car recorded about 72 miles a day instead of the roughly 20 miles he actually drove. The lawsuit, which is filed in California, accuses Tesla of using algorithms and driver behavior metrics that misrepresent actual mileage, causing vehicles to reach their warranty limits prematurely. The plaintiff says Tesla refused to cover his suspension repairs because his warranty had expired due to the allegedly inflated mileage. A similar lawsuit filed last year by Tesla owners accused the company of falsely advertising driving ranges for its vehicles. Now, we reached out to Tesla for a comment, but have not heard back.
And how are you going to prove it? I mean, how are you going to prove any of that you're saying? How are you going to prove that Tesla messed with mileage? How are you going to prove any of that stuff? You can't.
Now we are fighting here for injustice, not.
You can't prove any of that. And I assume that in the future, you're going to be able to prove that this system is messed up. But this is a long, hard road for this gentleman in this lawsuit. It might be some way to prove it. He's just basing it off of what he thinks the amount of mileage or the kilometers that he's going per day is. These systems are designed that you go less miles if you drive a certain way. There's all kinds of parameters that dictate what mileage is, how far you went and all these other sorts of things. And with these EV vehicles, who dictates what controls that? Who dictates how that's supposed to be made up? Who dictates how that's controlled to the point where if the computer system says you went 3 miles, but you think you went 2 miles, who's going to be able to isolate that to the point where you can win a lawsuit? This is going to be a very interesting one. We're going to definitely keep watch of it, try to understand it, because I'm really big on warranties. I had a situation back when I was over at the Land Rover Jag dealership where a customer came in. They had a transmission problem, and it was a fairly new Land Rover, but they had 49,000 miles on it. It was, matter of fact, when they called, here's the kicker. The kicker was that when they had contacted us and had first come in with the problem, the vehicle had 49,000 miles on it, and we were busy, so we couldn't get them in that day. So they went and drove the car, or they kept the car, brought it in when they had the appointment. Maybe the next week, the car had 51,000 miles on it, out of warranty because the warranty expired at 50,000 miles. Ain't that some bullshit? They had contacted us prior to the warranty expiring, and I advocated for the customer. Called Land Rover, got Land Rover to fixing that transmission under warranty because they previously came in with the problem under warranty, and this was one of the reasons I lost that position, was because the service manager at the time was trying to say that I did something wrong by contacting Land Rover to get permission to fix their transmission under warranty and not charging them to fix the transmission because I was taking money from the company. That was a big fight, and I'm still pissed about it to this day, and I should have whooped that dude butt. But anyway, it's one of those situations where warranties are supposed to be there to help people. That's why I love Hyundai, Kia warranties. They base warranty is like 50,000, 60,000 miles. 60,000 miles you could drive this vehicle. Your standard warranty in most other places, 30,000, maybe 36 at the most. So warranties are very important. They sell the car, and they help customers who just purchased, spend all their upfront money to buy this brand new car or whatever it is, to get those things fixed when things happen, because let's face it, things happen with these cars. All right, let y'all get up out of here. It's a pleasure as always. I'm your boy Chris Surratt. Please like, share, subscribe to the show. Hit me in the DMs if you have any questions. Hit me in the Cashapp if you want to support the show. And I'm out. Peace.